An absolutely insane concept. And this is kind of the stuff I really expect from the What If series. Like, really go wild out there. Because with the Captain Carter stuff, while it was absolutely fantastic, it didn't get weird enough. But with this, what if T'Challa became Star-Lord? What if Yondu had sent his underlings to go and get Peter Quill? And of all people, they picked up T'Challa because they sensed the otherworldly signature, and it wasn't of a device that Peter had, it was because of the vibranium mound. And geez, I love young T'Challa and how adventurous he was, so ready to go out and explore. The open minded nature of T'Challa really took hold here. And then he becomes Star Lord, which kind of contradicts a few things for Quill to a certain extent, honestly speaking, because of the nature of why Quill is called Star Lord in the MCU, but at the same time, it feels like people called him that because he was such a savant. Whereas Quill, because of his issues, he wasn't able to really become anything really prevalent, but T'Challa, no, he becomes this legendary figure to the point where you have the moment where he goes to grab the Power Stone, I think it was. And of course, you have the moment where Korath and what you would think would be the forces of Thanos come in to try to get the stone. And unlike before, Korath it actually knows who Star Lord is. In fact, he's just fanboying all over the place. And I love this moment because it's just like, it's hilarious. It's hilarious how much he is fanboying, and it's just like, should I use the gun? Should I not use the gun? I always wanted to be like a Ravager, like part of your group. Are you looking for anyone? And he hits him, and he's just like, oh no, I'm so sorry. And T'Challa is so nice about the whole situation. He's like, well, I mean, that's what we're here for. And well, T'Challa does manage to get the upper hand on Korath. He actually ends up taking him with him, as he's just like, I've hired words. So it's such a cute moment. And then T'Challa gets cornered only to be saved by Yondu, and we find out they're actually more Robin Hood like esque people because Yondu even makes a reference to that, where they steal from the rich and give to the poor. They've just been going around the galaxy doing all these nice deeds. So unlike with Quill, who just became this outlaw who did all these terrible crimes here and there, T'Challa has just been a good guy through and through, no matter what. And it's just such a stark difference. It might as well be, what if Star Lord was just good at his job and good at helping people? Because you find out with the Ravengers, which includes Taserface. I love it. Taserface and Kraglin and all that good stuff. And of all people, their group also includes Thanos. Apparently T'Challa had managed to talk Thanos out of his whole genocide thing. He just talked him out of it. And it's just like, my god, that is so surreal. But Thanos still kinda has the same relationship with Nebula, but he only ever got to her eye, apparently. And so we see Nebula, and she has this long blonde hair, and which was black in the comics, but it's just like, what if Nebula just had managed to keep most of her fleshy bits and all that good stuff? And it's just like, holy shit. And she has this, bit of friction between her and Thanos, and it's kind of implied that Nebula was like the first. Like, that was the thing. Nebula was the first, and he never went beyond Nebula for the most part. So Thanos is also a Ravager, which is so surreal to just have Thanos, voiced by Josh Brolin, of course. Everyone is back to voice everyone. Everyone you see here, except for the appearance by Peter Quill, is, everyone else is just the same, and Peter Quill only has like one line. And it's just so wild to see all of this. And Nebula comes to T'Challa because she has a plan. Apparently, we find out that the Collector had actually taken over Thanos' whole gig. And, he's completely taken over nowhere. He's grown too big for his britches. He's protected by the Black Order and all that good stuff, which is also kind of wild. So, she has a plan to infiltrate the Collector's place nowhere in order to get this thing called, I think they're called like life seeds or something like this, which would be able to feed an entire planet by just overgrowing it with plant life. So you could just flourish a desert planet with just life, everlasting and endless. So it would be this really big score, but Yondu isn't really about it because he's just like, that's really dangerous. The Collector's unhinged, but T'Challa talks him into it, so they end up going on this heist where the rest of the Ravengers create a distraction while Nebula and Yondu bring this item to Tanalir Tavan, the Collector, for his collection and all that, while T'Challa infiltrates and tries to find these seeds, and he ends up getting the help of none other than Howard the Duck, because, of course. And, as he gets to the location, he ends up finding out that it's actually a Wakandan spaceship. And because of a discussion that T'Challa had with Nebula earlier, apparently T'Challa was told that Earth was destroyed. It had been completely wiped out. Yondu fed him a lie, because Yondu. And T'Challa finds out that his father had actually been looking for him for years. And he ends up being captured because apparently Nebula had betrayed him because Tanalir Tavan had wanted a complete set, or at least an actual Wakandan for the ship that he had managed to collect. So T'Challa and the Ravagers are thrown into prison. T'Challa confronts Yondu about lying to him, and Yondu's just like, because we're family, because you're like me, because you're an explorer and adventurer, and there's this whole big fallout, only for Nebula to come in and help them out and help them escape because she had actually not betrayed him. It was actually a plan. Nebula had been upfront with T'Challa from the beginning, which is just such a wonderful juxtaposition to her actual nature earlier on in the MCU. Just all these wonderful changes. And she helps them escape. T'Challa goes off to deal with the Collector, whereas Nebula and the Ravengers go to escape. We get this awesome moment where Nebula and Thanos, he kind of stays behind to deal with the rest of the Black Order, whereas T'Challa was about to be dissected by the Ebony Maw, only to be saved by Yondu. So Yondu and T'Challa end up doing battle with Tanalir Tavan, who has all these different weapons and stuff. He has the friggin' Necro Sword. They actually call it the Necro Sword, the thing that Hela had, where she would just be throwing out all these blades and stuff, and we never actually had a name for it, but the helm is actually the Necro Sword, so that's the connection to Gore the God Butcher, which we'll be having soon enough. And I'm just like, yes, all these references. And so they end up dealing with the Collector after a certain point, lock him in the collection. Karina gets a little bit of revenge in this reality where she, tried to touch the Infinity Stone in the other reality, end up being destroyed by that. They hand over the Collector's, control gauntlet to her, and she unleashes all of the prisoners, and they go after Tanalir Tavan. Thanos has this epic showdown fight between him and Cull Obsidian and Proxima Midnight. Nebula ends up saving him from getting his ass kicked by them because I don't think he's as enhanced as he is in the Prime universe. So they end up saving each other, a little bit of reconciliation there. They all manage to escape as Nebula had, use the seeds in order to take out Cullip City, and nowhere becomes completely overgrown by plant life. Is an epic scenery. T'Challa kind of reconciles with Yondu. He's brought back to Earth. He meets with his family. We have this wonderful moment where it's basically the cast of Black Panther ends up hanging out with the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, kind of some of them. It's funny because of the nature of things. Nebula had never been turned into like the who knows how much machine she actually is. We never see Gamora. We never see Rocket. Drax is just a bartender because his family was never killed by Ronan the Accuser. In fact, T'Challa had actually saved his family and all that. It's such a fun bit of juxtaposition. And then we end things off with Ego coming to visit Quill. And I love how the Watcher is just like, yeah, because of this change, we might have actually doomed Earth. Because there's, Quill won't have the fortitude to overtake Ego as far as we know, unless Ego tells him outright that he gave his mom cancer and all that. Maybe the battle will take place all over again, but who knows if Quill will be able to escape all of the shenanigans that happen. So the Earth might end up being destroyed by Ego because Black Panther had become Star-Lord. It's just such a wild series of events, and I love it. I loved it. I loved it through and through. This was fun. Not to dismiss the Captain Carter stuff, but the stuff with T'Challa and the performance by Chadwick Boseman was fantastic. This is probably my favorite so far. This was just a fun ride, some great stuff, some great characterization, some interesting differences. A+ stuff. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. How did you feel about this one? How did you feel about Chadwick Boseman's final performance? May he rest in peace. He knocked it out the park with this one. One last great performance from such a legendary guy. I loved hearing cheery Josh Brolin, cheery Korav and all that. A Karen Gillian playing a cheerier Nebula. Just everything was so much more lighter in this. And everybody's lives had to become the dumpster fire they kind of become in Guardians 1 and 2 and so on and so forth. But, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. And until the next episode of What If, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.